Hi, Chanel.
Hello, Cinti.
How are you feeling today?
I'm tired.
I feel like I want to sit down and go through and listen to every single episode that we've recorded because I feel like that's how we start everything. It's like, hi, how are
Yeah,
you? Oh, I'm tired.
yeah. I don't think there's one where we're like, I'm doing great.
I feel like people who are going to listen to it are going to be like, dang, do they like this? Are they even having any fun?
We have fun when we get in the zone. We
Yeah,
we be
get in the
we be
zone, auto
talking.
zone.
We be
We be
talking.
talking.
It's for a reason.
Yes. But anyway, to get us into the episode, today we're talking about two more movies. This is still the movie series. If you thought otherwise, you were wrong.
You're
We're
wrong.
still we're talking about movies, and we're going to talk about movies until the wheels fall off.
Yes.
And today, the two movies we're going to be talking about are called The Holdovers and A Real Pain.
Yes.
Yes. And is there any particular film that you would like us to begin with, Chanel?
I want to start with the holdovers.
Really? I'm surprised.
Wow.
Yes. Okay. Do you want to give the background or do you want me to?
Yeah, I can give the background for the holdovers.
Okay.
So, this is a film. I think it's set in the 70s? It's like Vietnam time.
Oh, is it
Vietnam.
really?
Yes.
Oh, I had no
So,
idea. I had
yeah,
no idea war
cuz
was going on.
and I guess you'll get into it when it's the description. So, I'll explain why it's Vietnam time. So, the story revolves around a professor not a professor, he's technically a teacher because it's a high school.
Mm-hmm.
So a teacher who teaches at one of those high schools that is it's like a prep school, and it's like for
College
super
prep. Yeah.
expensive people, not expensive people, rich people.
Rich people.
That's what you call them, not expensive people,
That's
rich
hilarious. Could
people.
you imagine if rich people could be bought and they're just
You
really
know,
expensive,
you're a very
but you could
expensive
save up?
person.
Yeah.
Oh god.
After 4 years of saving, I can finally buy myself a rich person.
Oh my god, I'm scared. But so for very wealthy individuals, they send their kids to this boys to this school, and it's a prep school to get them into Harvard and all the Ivy League schools. And so he's been working there, and he has been asked by the principal to stay over winter break and to take care of the holdovers, the kids that remain when all the other kids fly back to their homes to, be with their
For the
family.
holidays.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole group of kids there, but eventually, for some reason, I'll skip it. It ends up just being this teacher, the one of the kids whose mom is kind of neglectful, just a little bit. And
I think
then
more than kind of.
yeah, sarcasm. And
Oh, okay,
then
my bad.
and then we have a worker at the school. I think she's the cafeteria lady, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, the head
so
cook.
yes, so those are the three people who have to stay. And so we see them, start as like this broken up group of individuals, but eventually they become a beautiful little family. Wow. Can't believe it. But yeah, so just for a little bit more context on the individual characters, and we'll kind of get into this with the scenes. The head cook, she had a son that went to the school because she was working at the school, so he had the opportunity to go to the school. When he graduated, he didn't have enough money to go to college, and guess what? We were drafting for the Vietnam War, so he had to go to Vietnam.
Oh.
Yeah, and he died. So
Mm-hmm.
she has that on her back. So she has that, hole in her heart. And then we have the kid who is currently attending the school. His mom is very neglectful. His dad was institutionalized.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. He's like mentally crazy, but I don't remember what his condition was. But he essentially lost his mind, we'll say.
Yeah.
And he his mom has moved on and found another suitor, we'll say, and that suitor's like not having it with the son at all. So the mom's not there for him, and so that's why he's at the boarding school. And he's basically like, this is his final chance. If he messes up anymore, you're going to military school. And what happens when you go to military school? You might end up being drafted and going into the Vietnam War. It's military school is preparing you for that. So he's like, this is my final chance. And then finally the teacher, he went to the school when he was a lad. And then wee lad. And then he went to an Ivy League school. I don't remember. It's probably Harvard or something. I don't remember.
Probably.
And he ended up having another student accuse him of stealing his work or stealing their work. Right. And so he got basically accused of cheating. I don't think he was a rich individual, but that student was a rich individual. And so they basically just took that kid's word for it, and he got kicked out of university. And so the only job he could get was teaching back at his high school because he didn't finish his PhD or whatever he was working on at the time.
His bachelor's.
I think it was his PhD.
He has no degree. He can't work.
Oh,
anywhere.
was it just? Oh, okay. I thought he was in his PhD. Okay, well, his bachelor's then. Because I thought he would wanted to be a professor. I think
that's the only reason why he's at the school was because he can't get hired anywhere else without a degree.
Yeah, but I thought it was because he wanted to teach university, and that's why he couldn't get hired. But I will Google that. But in the meantime, you want to get us started on our scenes.
Well, I was actually going to ask if you could give names to these characters because I don't remember them.
So the names of the characters, the professor, or the teacher's name, is Paul Hunham. So Paul. We'll just go with Paul. And then the kid's name is Angus Tully. And then the mother's name, the head cook, is Mary Lamb. Mary had a little lamb. Mary Lamb.
Mary had a little lamb. Wow. They made at least they made her name and Tully's name easy to remember. But Paul, what a last name?
Hunham.
But the first scene that I think I would like to discuss is the classroom scene, because I'm gonna be blatantly honest. I remember hearing about this movie. I remember hearing that Mary had a little lamb. Mary Lamb's character, Divine Joy, won an Oscar for this role last year. I think for best supporting actress. So I remember was it the Oscar?
Yes, she won an Oscar. She won the Oscar.
But I personally,
we wrote for everybody black.
Right.
Yes.
But I don't remember Tully being the main kid. I actually thought it was a demonic child from the annoying one. And I really was like, how am I going to grow to like him? I'm like, they must do a lot of work with this character, because they kind of paint the picture that it could be him with the way he's mouthing off and like going against Mary Lamb. Like you could see that there could have been like a growth story between the two of them. So I was kind of surprised when our main character was Tully. So I thought that the first scene where it's like Professor or Mr. Paul Hunham was like, do you guys want to do your test? And Tully was like, oh no, like our parents are here. And then he was like, okay, then everybody fails. And I was just like, at that point, it didn't click that Tully was going to be the main character. I really thought it was the other kid, because they had a lot of rapport, the two of them, that I feel like it could have easily been either one. And there wasn't really a deviation of who could have been a main character if, you hadn't looked at the like, until they all leave. Yeah. And of course, if I looked at the like title sequence, I would have been able to tell, or the actors. But if I'm just watching the movie head on, I was kind of assuming that Mr. Demonic Child who got on the plane was our main character, not Mr. Tully.
Yep.
So that was my first scene.
Okay. Oh my God. I think my first scene has to be I was locked into, okay, we're gonna have all these kids and they're all gonna be here and we're gonna learn about each of them, and we're gonna see like what's their background, and then they're all gonna get together at the end of the movie and they're all gonna be friends. But literally 5 minutes later. Hey, so my dad, he said we can all go skiing with them at the resort. You guys want to go? He's chartering a helicopter. Let's go. And
rich people, man.
Freaking the one Angus, your mom is the biggest op. She wouldn't answer the phone. And so you couldn't go because you had to get parents' permission for them to go. Oh my God. And so homeboy Angus was pissed. And I don't even blame him. I was pissed for him. I was like, girl, they're all going skiing and I have to stay here with the worst professor, the worst teacher.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, I felt bad for him.
Yeah. There was a point that I wanted to make to that. Oh, to the point where you were talking about getting to know the other characters. We really were learning about the other boys.
Yes.
All for it to be for nothing. And I was like, why are you wasting my time? Like, literally, why are you wasting my time? Because why am I'm sitting here trying to learn their names, learn their backstory. Like, Tully's talking to the kid who wet his bed because he was so sad and scared to be away from his parents. And the kid just hops into a plane and goes skiing.
Yep. Bye, suckers.
I was like, you're literally wasting my time. The beginning of the film was a waste of my time because there was no need for that. There was no need to get all that background into those characters. You would have had the same, because by the time the movie ended, I forgot who these people were. We could have had the movie without them being there. Mm-hmm. In my opinion. But I'm trying to think, what is another scene? I think when Mr. Hunnam takes Tully to the bar and Tully's like puts the dime on the ping pong table.
I got next.
And he's like, I got next. And the guy who stands up doesn't have a hand and Tully freaks out and is running and goes to Mr. Hunnam and is like, help me, help me, help me. Mind you, this kid, he's been a pain in Mr. Hunnam's butt this entire movie because the only reason why they were in town was because Tully wasn't listening and he practically almost broke his arm. Like, I think he like dislocated his shoulder. And he's like, save me, save me, save me. I just thought that scene was so funny because you're trying to act like a big kid, like an adult, and you're definitely a child. And it shows that you're a child because you run to an adult when you need protection. So I thought that scene was really funny.
Yes, ma'am. And then along with that scene, when homeboy dislocated his shoulder... I swear, he's so dumb. I get it, but he's so dumb. He was like just throwing a hissy fit.
That was so funny. That scene, the hissy fit was so freaking funny.
And then the way they both reacted, they were both, you know when you mess up.
Yep.
They both know that they messed up. Because I'm trying to remember exactly how the scene went down. Because it was like, they were in the gym or something. And he did something stupid and he fell, right?
So the thing was, I think Tully was trying to leave. He was trying to leave
and he was running,
campus and go to Boston. And he used an excuse previously where he's like, oh, I'm going to go make a call. And he left. And so Mr. Hunnam was chasing after him, telling him, like, you're not going to go and, like, make a call. And they get into the gym and Mr. Hunnam is like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
And he's like I'm going to do it.
He kept telling him not to do it.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
What did he do? I forgot.
He went, so it was kind of like the I don't know what it is, but for gymnastics, it's a thing that they run to bounce off to do like a sort of trick and then land. And he bounced off of it and fell onto, and like, I don't even think there was mats. If there was, they weren't soft. Yeah, that's how.
Yeah, they weren't soft mats. There was like something on the ground, but not much. That was hilarious. I was cracking up.
Yeah, it was deserved.
He's so dumb. And then he threw up because that probably hurt a lot. And then they went to the hospital and homeboy's like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my job.
Yep.
And the other homeboy's like, my dad here, I fell, but like, don't tell anybody because my mom and whatever he said.
That lady would have lost her license. She could have lost her job if they found out she did that.
This is the 70s.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
They used to be lax in the 70s. They used to be lax.
Yeah.
Now, today, I don't think you can get away with that.
It's the way that I heard you say there used to be blacks in the 70s, and I said not.
There
in this
also
movie.
used to be blacks. There is
Not
blacks in this movie. Black people. One of the main characters.
Oh, sorry. Literally, one of the main characters is black,
and won an award because she's black. We're rooting for everybody. Black.
So here's the thing: when we talked about the black people, I was immediately thinking about the students.
Yeah, there's
a lot of black students.
Yeah, there's no girls, just boys, white boys.
It's an all boys school, right? Yeah.
Yes,
but I'm so sorry, Miss. Is it Divine? I'm so sorry, Miss Divine.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes. How dare you?
I apologize, Miss Mary Lamb. Miss Mary had a little lamb.
That scene was hilarious, and then also I'm adding another tag along scene with this one when the janitor was like,
"Yeah,
clean up that throw up," without saying "clean up that throw up." That was hilarious.
That was hilarious.
He threw down the mop and the bucket and looked at them like, "Are you guys serious? I'm supposed to clean up your throw up?
I'm not cleaning this. I'm not cleaning this." He's pretty much like, he's not supposed to be working. You know what I mean? Like, the school's supposed to be empty.
Yep.
There's not really anything to be cleaning up. So why am I coming into work to see throw up dried?
Yep.
And you think I'm going to clean it? No.
No. Okay, go ahead, Cindy.
I think one of the scenes, or the next scene that I like, is actually following them in the diner, where they have their one of their first moments of heart to heart, where Tully's like, "Man, you stink." He's like, "You smell like canned fish," and the later it gets into the day, you smell more like canned fish, and you should really do something about it.
Yep.
And Mr. Hunnam is just like, "Yeah, that's like I have a condition," and I don't know why. I feel like Tully was just like, "Well, like, why don't you you're making me look like an asshole in this moment?"
Yeah.
Because it's like,
that crap was so funny. Yeah, I remember that too. We might have a shared delusion, but I remember that too. He's like, "Well, now you're making me look bad. Like, what the heck?" That crap was
because he's like, "You like." Because what was it? They were trying to give each other advice, right? He was just like, "Tully, this is how you could be a better person," and then Mr. Hunnam, like, "This is how you could be a better teacher," and like, nobody wants to be around you when you smell so bad. And Mr. Hunnam was like, "Yeah, that's been my entire life. Like, I can't do anything about it."
That crap was so funny.
Which I have to say as an aside, that I feel like would be so terrible, where it's like, you stink and you can't do anything about it.
And if you put some cologne over that, it's probably gonna be worse. So
that's the thing. Like, I feel like the scent is so palpable that like trying to mixing scents will just make it sick. Like, you can make it sickly. Like, ultimately what Tully is saying is like, it's bad, but like, I'm able to sit in a car with you and it's okay. I just want to let you know you smell bad. I feel like if you try to mix cologne with it, at that point it's like, I can't physically be near you without wanting to vomit type of thing. What?
That's just funny. That crap was so funny. Oh my god.
Yeah, that scene was good. I really liked that scene.
Oh, so yeah, that one was a good one. Let's see. I might have forgotten my next scene. Let's see if I can remember.
It happens.
Yes, I'm definitely skipping, but it is what it is.
It's fine.
So the scene where they go to the restaurant and then they're like, "Hey, can we get?" I forgot what it's called. Cherry's Jubilee. They watched another table get a dessert and they were like, "Oh, can we get that same dessert?"
Oh,
and the lady was like, "Actually, you want to get it for the kid? It has alcohol in it, so yeah, you can't get the Cherry's Jubilee." She's like, "Oh no, but it's on fire. Like, the alcohol cooks off, so he can have it, right?" "No, I'm sorry, we don't allow that." And then I think Homeboy, the teacher, he was like, he snaps at her. And is essentially like, "That's dumb. Why can't the kid just have, like, I'll say it's okay. Why can't he have it?" "Yeah, we just don't allow that." And then eventually they're like, "Okay, let's get it to go. Give us some ice cream. Give us some cherries." And then they go out to the car and he had a little bit of liquor in his pocket. So he pours some liquor. They set it on fire. And then they can't put out the fire, or the fire doesn't go out on its own. And so they just throw it on the ground and they have to stop it. That was also very funny to me.
Yeah, no, that was a good scene.
Oh,
That was a very good scene. And in the mode of skipping, my
yes.
next favorite scene is the end of the film. I can't really think of anything else worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Obviously, like the whole movie, they get closer and closer, and that's really, really nice. But like we had this conversation about the end of the movie because, again, I don't like sad endings, and I don't like endings that don't really have a conclusion. But I did really appreciate the scene where it was like ultimately Mr. Hunnam lost his job to allow Tully to stay in school. Like he ultimately put himself or put Tully over himself. And I don't know if you were able to see whether or not he didn't get his PhD or if he didn't get his bachelor's, but my understanding,
it doesn't say it online, but I will assume you're right. I might have gotten confused because his the classmate that he was with became a doctor, like academic, and so I might have gotten confused with that. But it doesn't say online.
Yeah, so because I think the thing was the whole pretense that he was trying to make was like that classmate ended up continuing to become like a well known in his field.
Yeah.
And I think the assumption that like he's a teacher and everything, he was trying to get his classmate to assume that he also was able to go to another school and become something. And I think that's kind of where it was. But anyway, to my understanding for that last scene is that him losing his job is him effectively losing any potential chance for him to work because he has no degree. Right. So ultimately he gave up his entire life for this kid that he only knew for like 2 weeks, like really got to know for 2 weeks. And it was that scene where they kind of had that moment, they shook hands, and then Tully ultimately was like telling the demonic child that like he's like insinuating that he's a good guy. And I just felt really wholesome. Like not a lot of words needed to be said to understand the amount of care that they had. I think for me, what I was kind of hoping for was that after this whole scene happened, that Mr. Hunnam would become like a fatherly figure to Tully, because it's obvious that he's deficient in it with the fact that his stepfather doesn't really want him, and then his father doesn't have the mental capacity to be there for him. I think that's the part that's where I was just like, I was kind of hoping for more for the relationship post this 2 weeks, but I appreciate the what is the word? The sacrifice that Mr. Hunnam made for Tully.
Yes. And on that note, I'm like, I see what you're saying, but I think it makes sense the way that they did it, because it's like he lost the position that would have put him in the place to be a father figure for him by being a father figure for him. Does that make sense? Yeah. Are you picking up what I put it down? So you know what I'm trying to say? So I think it makes sense in that like ironic way, I guess you would call it. I don't know.
I don't know. I just saw Miss Mary Lamb and Mr. Hunnam as his parents, you know, and I just kind of wanted that familial unit to stay together. But what you're saying makes sense. Like him stepping in and actually thinking and caring for Tully is what got him fired.
Yep.
And if he didn't do that, Tully ultimately would have left anyway. Like one of them had to go. So
yep, exactly. So catch-22 or whatever they call it. But double-edged sword. Yeah, I thought it was good. I think that's it for the scenes. There's definitely more in there. We didn't hit everything because
But I feel like this movie's worth a watch. So I feel like people should just go in.
So go watch it, absorb, and then I also want to mention this movie will be playing in my home in that awkward period between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah, that's a perfect movie. Yeah,
I think it's the perfect movie for that time because it's technically a Christmas movie, but it's not. It's like sad.
Die Hard, or is that the name of the Christmas movie that's not Die Hard?
I think so.
I've never watched it, so
I've never seen Die Hard either. You know, maybe one of these days.
Add it to the list.
Add it to the list. But yeah, so I think this will be on. This is a movie I could rewatch. I could rewatch this, especially like once a year. Definitely, I can see it being on.
Yeah, 100%.
I really enjoyed this one. On to the next one.
Yeah, now on to a movie that I probably will not rewatch. A Real Pain.
Yeah.
Starring Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg.
Yes. So A Real Pain. Okay, the synopsis for A Real Pain. So we have two cousins. You know, I always think of the concept of cousins as being very interesting because it's kind of like your siblings, but you're not. You're kind of between siblings and friends ish.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very weird dynamic, which is showcased in this film. But anyways, back to the general setup. So we have two cousins. One without, just to say it brashly, one is a loser. Yes, he's a loser. That's Kieran's character. Let me see what it's called.
See, I was about to say, which one would you say? Which one? Because depending on how you view the film, either one of them could have been the loser.
I don't think so. I don't agree with that at all. But we can discuss that. But so a loser, in my opinion, is Benji. And then the other cousin is David. And he has, like a wife and kids, and he works for an advertising company. How lame. But nonetheless. So, the reason why I called Benji a loser is because he has no job. He lives in his mom's basement. We're leaving it at that. And so both of these two individuals are going to Poland on a trip to basically honor their late grandmother and to, explore more about like what happened in the Holocaust, and then also see their grandmother's, the outside of their grandmother's home. Let's be specific. And so they both are going on a tour, and this is a tour that takes you through a couple places in Poland and takes you to like, a camp outside of, a city in Poland and whatnot. And so, yeah, that's the premise. I think I'll leave it at that. Was that enough, Cindy, or do you think I need more context for that?
That's enough.
Yeah, that's enough. Thank you.
This movie was painful for me. I'm gonna be honest.
Was it a real pain, Cindy?
It was. Was
it a real pain in your
As
booty?
You were talking about it, I was trying to think of the scenes. It's like, typically like for Chanel and I, we try to have conversations about these films prior to the podcast, just to kind of like flesh out our ideas, so it can be more like, I guess, not necessarily concise, but at least we can steer the conversation. Because if not, these episodes could be 3+ hours. And I feel as though I had a lot more profound things to say about the film when we talked about it the first time. But as I'm sitting on it right now, I'm just like, there's not much that I can really pull from that I can speak positively to.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way. Because even the description I gave, it was kind of like, this movie's kind of about nothing.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know if I can necessarily say, for example, a specific scene, but I can, at least for right now, talk about a character. Yeah. And I will get into the point of why you could say that Jesse could be considered the loser. Mm-hmm. And the only reason why is I was thinking of it in more of a profound sense, right? Like, up front, Benji is a loser. From the perspective of he doesn't have a job, he has nothing really going for him, right? The type of person who's able at the beginning of the movie, he sat in an airport for 3+ hours before the flight just to sit and watch people. Like, who has the time to really do that? Mm-hmm. But the reason why I said it depends on how you look at it is because Jesse Eisenberg's character, David, thinks of himself as lesser than Benji, right? Yeah. It seems as though the relationship was always him comparing himself to Benji, of Benji being the one who's more outgoing. And even in the dynamics in which you see Benji interacting with everybody on the tour, Benji is louder and he seems to be coming off as more like abrasive, but ultimately he's more welcomed than David. And I feel like that to David could amplify the idea of him being lesser or more of a quote unquote loser, because of the fact that like they're both here for the same thing, but it seems like Benji is the one who's being more welcomed, right? Mm-hmm. And so in that context, that's where I was just like, well, I mean, it depends. Like David could be considered quote unquote the loser. It's like even in the scenes with Benji being so abrasive and everyone not liking him, within the next scene, it's like, Benji, you're great. Like, we love you, Benji. Like, Benji, give me a hug. Benji, you have such great ideas.
Yeah. And, like you said, in this movie, there's not really any scenes that I care to really talk about. It's more like the overall dynamics. So we can, break our normal format to talk about the overall dynamics. So let's talk about Benji. Because this guy, he's a lot. And I think kind of what you were saying, Cindy, he's the type of person that's like extremely abrasive to where people kind of feel like an opposite reaction towards him. So like with an abrasive person, you normally want to get away from them. But I think it's because he's so, how am I going to say this? He kind of seems just like an overactive puppy that's annoying. He kind of gives that vibe. And everything he does that's when he gets irritated, it just gives very like puppy or like a child that's having like a temper tantrum. Yeah. It gives that vibe. And so when people act that way, it makes you want to go, oh, Benji, how are you doing? Oh, you want to get up there and play with the statues? Ah, it's Benji. Let's get up there and play with the statue. You know what I mean? And so that's the kind of effect that Benji has on people. And that's who he's supposed to be. It's kind of like if you took a child and then they were an adult, put them in an adult body, that's the kind of vibe he gives.
Coddling. They coddled him.
Yes, they coddle him, but that doesn't mean you necessarily like him. You know what I mean? So it's like, and even there were some people on the tour that were straight up like, I don't like him. That one guy, I forgot, in the husband and wife situation, the one guy, he was like, I don't like him, which I was like, me too, sir, me too. But yeah, it seemed like everybody else was like coddling him. And like, you know, with children are annoying. Like certain children are annoying. And so do you necessarily like that child? You like them because they're a child, you know? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You're not going to be mean because it's a child. You know what I'm saying? So that's the vibe that I got.
Yeah, and I can understand. I can agree with that and understand that. But again, I feel like if you were just looking at the characters, so we can go into David next, right? It feels as though that was not the response that he was receiving from what was happening. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. He, and then this is the thing. It's about that like shared history. The shared history that you have with family is really weird because like your family. Someone outside of your family could say something and you're like, oh, okay. Someone inside of your family says that exact same thing. You're like, leave me alone. I will kill you.
Right?
I will kill you where you stand. Get away from me. And so I think that's what's happening for him. Because with what you said in the beginning with like, he thinks that he's a loser. I completely agree with that. He thinks that he's a loser because he still thinks that they're children. Like, not exactly that they're both children, but he's still has that same mindset from when they were children, right? I bet Benji was the coolest kid and everybody loved Benji and Benji, da, da, da. But when you grow up, it's no longer cute. It's no longer cute. Yes. That's when it gets weird. And so I think you're correct. David still is like, we're children, we're cousins, da, da, da. But David actually grew up.
Yes. I actually wanted to bring that point because I think also them kind of falling into those dynamics shows how unclose they are as adults, because I think it's something that I also go through when I see a lot of friends from like college or from high school, right? I feel like sometimes for me to be able to relate to the conversations that I'm in, I have to like revert back to the person that I was in high school or in college, right? To be able to relate and to understand, because I've grown as a person since those moments. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening to David and Benji. Because of the amount of time that they've spent apart during their adulthood, the only thing that they can relate to is the period when they were together, which was when they were children. Yep. And I feel like that's the reason why David is not able to see Benji as anything more than what he was when they were children, because that was the last time that they were really together. And so I think that also kind of hits on that whole point. It's just like they're just reverting back to the type of people that they were as children. But yes, David has grown so much, but kind of like it always happens where it's like the whole quote unquote peaking in high school. It seems like that period in Benji's life is when he's peaked. Yep. And he doesn't really have anything else to show for his life outside of that. And it seems like this is more painful to him because like his grandmother was the only person who actually tried to put effort into him. And that person's now gone. So even that like slight sense of like purpose has disappeared. So he has even less of what was already barely there.
Yes. And I thought, I guess this is a scene. So for David talking to the group of
Oh,
I
that
guess
scene
they're
was
all
so
on a
bad.
tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when he's talking, and we'll talk about the acting at the end, Cindy. But for just the part where he's delivering that monologue, and it's essentially like, oh, by the way, Benji tried to kill himself, because basically all of the people on the tour are like, why is Benji that way, essentially? And he's like, I'm sorry. And he goes on this long tangent, but essentially from the tangent, it's, hey, by the way, he accidentally says this. Benji tried to kill himself. He has been very sad, and so the only reason I'm on this trip is to potentially, get him back together, because now I just see him as he was lying on the floor of his mom's basement about to die, and so I can't get that out of my head.
I'm like, did he find him?
That's I wasn't sure about that, or like, I don't know what's going on with that.
Because the vibe that I was getting was that his mom found him and then took a picture and sent it into the family group chat.
Oh, I could see that. I absolutely could see that.
That's the vibe I was getting. But I'm like, that's actually a lot. Like, mama, don't do that to him. Like,
I could see that. I could see that, actually. I could. But it could have been like, who knows? Maybe it was Thanksgiving or something when someone went downstairs. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the situation, and then he was talking about like his feelings around it and all that stuff, and then everybody's like, oh, Benji, he's a bleeding heart, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, so I thought when I found out that he committed, or like tried to commit suicide, I wasn't really moved by that, which again, we'll get to the acting. It could have been an acting problem, or it could have been whatever. But yeah, so I feel like I'm just, and maybe you can help me with this. So with Benji's character, the suicide, it makes sense, because I know people are like, people do the opposite of like what they actually want, and like, and so like the way he is, I was surprised to learn that he'd like try to commit suicide, because I'm like, that doesn't really fit the Benji vibe. You know what I mean? Because he really gives like, I don't care, I'm Benji, but also you're doing this and that bothers me. Now I'm going to throw a tantrum, blah, blah, blah. And, committing suicide, that's just like, I don't know, I feel like that's a very intense thing that I want to put him and that together. You know what I mean? Were you surprised when you said that? Or were you like
surprised? Because the reason why I wasn't surprised was because Benji gives the type of person that wants to be in control, but doesn't know how to be in control. Right? The way that he was every single step of the way trying to dictate how he believed that this tour needed to be done, even though he was a participant of it. The way that he was trying to dictate how everybody should feel. Yep. Because of, like, it felt like he really wanted to be in control. And to me, I feel like sometimes when I look at people who, people who are attempt to commit suicide, I feel like sometimes a lot of the discussion is like, this is something in which they feel like they have control. Like everything in the world is spiraling, but the one thing that they can control is this moment and this action. And so I feel like when they brought that up, especially with the whole conversation of like, Benji doesn't have a lot going for him. It seems like he tried to do some things. He was close to his cousin, but his cousin's far away. He lives in his parents' basement. It just seems as though a lot of the things that he wanted in his life are not going the way in which he intended. And he wanted to have some sort of grasp and control. So when he brought that point up, I was just like, oh, this was him attempting to have some semblance of control. But then at the same time, like you said, it's not what he wanted. He does not want to be gone. He just wants some semblance of what he used to love and to know to come back.
That like, because that makes sense. Because I was also thinking like it was what do you call it? Like he was trying to get attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's a statement for that, but I don't remember.
Oh, what is it? Oh, I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Call for something like that.
I know. I was like call for action, but I don't think
that's not it.
It's not it.
I don't remember.
Cry for help?
Oh yeah, cry for help. That works.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think that solidifies it. I just want to take a moment to recognize Cindy. Look at that reading, watching comprehension. It's on 10. It's on 10. You're learning. You're learning.
The way I got so shocked, I was like, what are we calling attention to?
You know me. It could have been anything.
Here's the thing, though. I feel like maybe because I didn't quite enjoy myself, I spent more time critically analyzing what I was seeing, you know? Because I feel like I personally think that if I'm able to watch something more than once, it's the same thing with how I listen to music, right? Whenever I listen to an album, I think my first comment is I don't like it because I have to listen to it a couple of times to actually pick it apart to see the things that I like. So I feel like that applies with movies where I'm sure if I watch like the Holdovers again, those scenes that I'm like, I don't necessarily like, I'll sit down and be able to appreciate them more and see the beauty of them. But with the Real Pain, it was difficult for me to get through. So I was just trying to look at things and try to understand things to try to figure out what I could grasp to in this film that I could thoroughly enjoy. And maybe that's the reason why I just started critically thinking. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe there's more depth to Benji's character. And that's the reason why. You know, trying to find reasons to understand the actions. So
yes, ma'am. Wow, she's learning. But yeah, so trying to think if there was anything else in their cousin dynamic that's or one of the characters.
I have a gripe with their cousin dynamic.
Okay, what was your gripe?
The fact that we never really got a scene of them talking about Benji's attempted suicide.
Yeah, which I see and I understand, and I think that would have added a lot to the film. But I think it makes sense why they kept it out, because one, they're both men, and I feel like just if we're dealing with like the men dynamic, I feel like men, when they're friends or whatever, they don't really talk about deep things like that. That's one, right? And then I know. The sigh, I agree. And then two, I feel like it's both of their faults. So Benji won, because why would Benji want to talk about that? He's very like, again, you mentioned the control, and he just wants to be. It seems like he wants fun all the time, fun, or I want to throw a tantrum, and there's no in between, because something's not going his way. So. That's Benji. I think it makes sense why he doesn't want to talk about that. But for David, there's also an issue with him because he seems very like stilted when he interacts with his cousin. And it seems like his cousin, it gives the vibes that his cousin Benji used to bully him when they were kids. That's the vibe that I get.
1,000%. He even attempted to now, but I think one, how can you bully someone who towers over you?
Yes. Someone who has a wife and a family and a job. And you don't, you know.
Yep.
It gets old. But yeah, so I got you though. I wish that there would have been more emotional depth. That's why also I was surprised by David's like admission that he killed suicide, or he tried to commit suicide, because he killed suicide. I tried to move past it. Please, Cindy, please.
I'm sorry. It was too funny not to bring up.
I will kill suicide. It's the last thing I do. But with that admission, I was surprised he said that, because it was like, oh, we're getting deep, but we haven't been deep this entire time. And so it kind of felt like a left field thing for me. You know what I'm saying? Like when... Yeah. So, yeah.
If we can use that moment to segue into, if you don't have anything else, the acting and the storyline.
One more thing that I have a question on, and then we can go into that.
Okay.
So at the end, why does Benji stay at the airport? Like, I have an idea, but I want to hear your take on it. So like in the beginning of the movie, he's at the airport and he's there for however long before his cousin shows up, at least 3 hours. And then at the end of the film, he says, I'm just going to stay here. Like his David is like, hey, come with me. You can come hang out with me and my family in New York. And he's like, nah, I'll stay in the airport. And he sits down and he's chilling in the airport again. Mm-hmm. What's your take?
There's a multitude of takes that I think that you could bring to this. And I could easily start with the idea of, we know that Benji doesn't really have a lot going for him. You know, and again, the whole concept of he's trying to stay into the realm of a world that he understands. him going and being with David's family, David's wife, David's kid is like kind of Benji would have to recognize that the life that he's trying to hold on to doesn't exist. It's another instance in which showing that things are changing, right? He doesn't like change. Another thing is like being in an airport is in a sense controlled chaos, right? Everybody's rushing, everybody's moving, but everybody's going for the same reason, right? You're either going to catch a plane or you're leaving a plane, right? There's no other reason for you to really be in an airport other than going to your flight or coming back from your flight. Someone like Benji is an anomaly, so he could also in a sense be enjoying the concept of controlled chaos. Something where it's like things don't seem to be meshing, but everything seemingly has a purpose, which is kind of what you could be his life, where it's like things don't seem to be meshing, but ultimately he's trying to find a purpose for them. So I think those would be my two takes, both kind of hitting on the idea of control and the lack of change, but for different reasons.
Yeah. I think in my head, I kind of got the similar vibes. I kind of took it as in an airport, it's kind of like an area where nothing is complete, if that makes sense. Yeah. It's like that in-between space, and he doesn't really know what to do with his life, so he likes that in-between place. It's like the same chaos thing that you were talking about. And then additionally, people have to wait, and people have to be around each other. And he seems like he's a very people person, and he likes being around people. And I'm guessing when he's alone in his basement, it's just him. And so that's probably why he's at the airport, to just be around people. And, he can listen into conversations. He can see what's going on. But also, nobody knows who he is. And so he's not judged or anything. So that's the kind of vibes I got. But let's get into this acting. Because, honestly, the most that we've talked about, we had a lot to say about this acting. We really did.
So the point that I wanted to bring up was what you were saying about, or whether it's the acting or the storyline. And to me, I think at this point it's a storyline where I personally do not believe that stating that they're men is enough of a reason for them to not discuss it, because of the fact of the plot. The whole purpose of the movie is supposed to be a walk down one of the saddest periods of history of America, or not American history, but of world history, right? The Holocaust.
Yep.
The whole premise of the film is centered around the Holocaust. That to me constitutes discussions of emotions, of feeling. I don't think there's any sort of documentary or museum that you can go to that talks about the Holocaust that doesn't make you feel something, right?
Yep.
So with that being the center portion of the film, them not really talking about any sort of emotions, like you're going to relive the life of your grandmother, someone who just passed away. You're going to her home. Not a tear was shed. Not a conversation was had of heart to heart of how this whole instance was making you feel. And David, the only reason why you came was in hopes to make Benji feel better. And you're not going to even have a conversation as to whether or not that works. I feel like that, to me, makes no sense with the context of the film. Because if this was really supposed to be, like, if you took out the Holocaust and made this just a boys' trip, then that would make sense to me, right? Like, I'm just trying to get Benji out from his mother's basement, try to give him a new scenery, and he's always said that he's wanted to go see Machu Picchu. And it's following them hike up to Machu Picchu.
Yep.
Okay, you don't have that heart to heart, because the whole purpose of this trip is to just take you to Machu Picchu, not relive the Holocaust story of your grandmother.
Yes. And also, I want to say there is that heart to heart. I'm doing quotations. Heart to heart. I think it was when they're in their grandmother's hometown and they're on that roof where they like broke in or something, or like they lied to the front desk.
That's the scene that I'm talking about.
Yeah, that wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. It was very surface level, and like that's what they was supposed to be that moment. Yeah, but they just I feel like they didn't commit it. I needed to see like. But also, they might have done it that way because Homeboy was going to end up in the same place, right, as he was in the beginning of the movie. His character doesn't change. He goes from point A to point B at same point.
They're stagnant characters.
Yes.
Or static.
Yes. And I think even though that was the case, I feel like they still should have went there to show, like, even though homeboy tried, and he actually tried, not just, hey, come stay with my family, okay, bye, actually tried. He actually tried to get to him. He actually, he tried everything in his toolbox, and he still failed. I think that would have been a little bit more deep. Yeah.
And it's the fact that at that scene, David started and he just didn't commit. And I think that's what bothered me more. It'd be completely different if they didn't even try. It'd be completely different.
And especially because, like, what, a day earlier, if that, he's telling a whole table, and he's like, he was very, like, agitated when he was telling them that, homeboy committed suicide, or, like, tried to commit suicide. That's killing me every time. It's taking me out. I could never say it correctly. Anyways, but yeah, he was, like, really emotional and, like, on edge when he was telling a whole table of strangers. And I'm like, it felt so out of place to me because it wasn't a thing. Like, he has a really nervous energy, but I didn't get, like, oh, this is the one trip I need to get my cousin back. It didn't have that energy in the movie for me.
Not at all.
It just had, like, oh, Benji, let's see if we can cheer him up.
Yes. But yeah, that's my biggest gripe with the like
plot
movie in itself, or the plot of the movie in itself. It just didn't go where I felt like it needed to go. Yeah. And it really felt as though, like, I like Jesse Eisenberg and I like his work, and to me, I'm gonna just say that it was probably just like cut in like post editing. There was like, I just feels like the scenes were cut out of the movie.
You see, I will make a promise to you, Cindy, maybe, that I will read the script for this movie, because I'm reading a lot more plays and stuff. So I'll get my hands on this script, and if I can, I'll read it and I'll let you know. I'll let you know if it was any different.
Yeah, please.
Yes. But would you like to talk about the acting a little bit?
No.
Yeah, because well, let me just say this. I love me some Jesse Eisenberg.
I do as well.
I have to admit, he does kind of play the same character commonly. It's normally like an anxious person. And he has, like,
spectrum of, like, outfit to, like, bunny, or not bunny, cinnamon roll.
Yes. But then, you just tack on, like, a different backstory, maybe a tweak, maybe they're a jerk, or maybe they're super nice, like that dynamic or whatever. You just add a little bit of spice on there. But he's very good at what he does. I can't lie. So I love me some Jesse Eisenberg. Should we just leave it at that?
Yeah, let's just leave it at that. I want to add, next time you're here, let's make some cinnamon rolls.
Oh, I love me some cinnamon rolls. Have you made some from scratch?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you make it from, like, you do so many things and you make so many things. You just need to start making them at my house so I can eat them.
It's true. I love me a good cinnamon roll. The secret is to pour heavy cream on them and then bake them. Okay. So,
man, I want one so bad.
Sounds good.
So good. Anyway,
next time, soon.
Themes?
Yes. Themes. So between the two movies, we talked about The Holdovers and A Real Pain. So I think themes are like family dynamics, even though the first one doesn't have a family.
It's like, what is it? What is the thing that, like, chosen family? Family. Mm-hmm. It's still family. Like, sometimes the best family you have, it's a family that you choose, not the family that you're born into. Yep. And I wholeheartedly believe that the people who choose to be your family is more of a true family than the ones that you get born into, in certain senses, right? Like, I do believe that your family that you're born into can become your chosen family, but the people who actually choose to have you in their lives, and you're not just there because of blood, are the truer forms of family.
Yes, ma'am.
And in all honesty, I feel like that plays into both films, with the fact that I feel like the characters in Holdovers are much closer than the actual family in A Real Pain.
Yeah, because it seemed like the end of Real Pain that those cousins are not going to speak to each other for a while. David might try, but homeboy Benji's gonna be hard to catch. He's out. Yeah. Yes.
I feel like disappointment is a theme that can hit on both of them.
Yeah.
Just like, and then like
your life not turning out how you want it to. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Those are themes that kind of hit on both.
Yes.
I don't know. What else? I can't think of anything else.
I think that's about it.
Okay.
Period.
So moving on.
It's that time again. Rank 'em, baby.
Yep.
Let me read through the ranking. We now have 20 films.
I know. Wait, should I try to do it off of memory?
Do it off of memory.
You think I got it?
No, but do it off of memory.
I don't either. Okay, so first one is Femme. Number 2. And also, just cut me off when I get it wrong, because there's no point in me trying to go to the end. So number 1 is Femme. Number 2 is Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person. Mm-hmm. Number 3 is Challengers. Number 4 is Anatomy of a Fall. Number 5 is Past Lives. Number 6, is that American Fiction?
She's wrong.
No, wait, no, don't tell me. The way I put my hand up to my camera, that's gonna look so crazy. But I was right up to Past Lives.
Yes. That
was number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. I always forget about The Substance. The Substance is number 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now here's the issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know Anora's number 10.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to get 4 films. I know The Piano Lesson is above Anora. I know American Fiction is above Anora, but I'm forgetting there's 2 other films that are supposed to go in between The Substance and Anora. Let's just call it at 6. I got 6 out of 20.
Yeah. So number 7 is American Fiction. Number 8 is The Piano Lesson.
No!
Number 9 is They Clone Tyrone. Number 10 is Anora. Then we have Wicked.
Okay. I would just like to say I technically got them because I definitely said American Fiction and Piano Lesson in that order. Mm-hmm. We should have just given me up to 8. Just gotta say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll get it by the next episode.
Anyways, so after Wicked, we have Color Purple, Hard Truths, Didi, Girls Will Be Girls, Babygirl, Nosferatu, A Different Man, The Last Showgirl, and Nightbitch.
Yes.
Where would you put The Holdovers, Cindy?
The Holdovers is going to go really close to the top. I would have to put it at number 4. So right after Challengers.
I agree.
Yeah. That movie's good.
It was very, very good. And
really good.
Will buy it on Blu-ray. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Holdovers. Okay. Next one's a real pain.
That one's very low on the list.
Yeah. But how low?
It's Babygirl.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because so this is the thing, right? I believe when we had the conversation before, we put it above Babygirl, but having this conversation today, mm-hmm. I don't really have much positive to say about the movie. It's true. Not a movie that I'm going to turn on again, and I'm pretty sure I said more things that I dislike about this film than what I liked.
Yep.
And so the thing is, I think at the bottom of their list is like A Different Man, The Last Showgirl, and then Nightbitch. I think that's mm-hmm. how it goes.
Yep.
I feel like it has to go for me above A Different Man, mainly because it's kind of like what you're saying. It's like I could see the potential, like I could see where it could go.
Yeah.
But it just didn't hit. And the characters were not likable for me. So it's like the thing with A Different Man, the characters were not likable, and I didn't really like where the film was going. I just found it to be boring. But mm-hmm. I feel like A Real Pain was boring in a different aspect because, again, how entertaining can you make the Holocaust, if we're being honest? Like,
you see, here's mm-hmm. the thing. you can make the Holocaust very entertaining. Some of the best movies of all time are about the Holocaust. To name some off the top of my head, The Pianist. Is it Shawshank Redemption, or is that
the movie that Adrian Brody won?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
I need to watch that.
Is Shawshank Redemption? Am I thinking of the wrong one? That one might just be a prison movie.
Yeah, I think it might be. I don't know. I know The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Yes, that one was good.
And a movie that people really
Shawshank Redemption. Oh, yeah. That's not a Holocaust movie. That's just a prison movie. My bad.
Okay.
But yeah, there's definitely more. But yeah, so you can make the Holocaust entertaining. Will it be like happy-go-lucky? No. But it will be sad, but it will be entertaining. You know what I mean? It will be a good film. So that can't be the cop-out, especially because the Holocaust was barely even mentioned. Yeah. Honestly, like you were saying, you could have set this in Machu Picchu and it would have been the same movie. It wasn't.
That is true.
It wasn't really necessary. Like, oh, my grandma, she used to be a climber, and so we're going to Machu Picchu to honor her legacy. That it would have been the same movie.
Yeah. So, okay, I will say this. I just really didn't like A Different Man. So,
yeah,
that is what's kind of pushing more so A Real Pain above
That's
it.
fair.
I just didn't like it.
That's totally
and I like
fair.
Jesse Eisenberg. So,
okay, so let me ask you this. Nosferatu, Babygirl, you think those should be above A Real Pain?
Oh, I forgot about Nosferatu. Maybe I'll put A Real Pain above Nosferatu, but below Babygirl.
You see? I think we're going to leave it where it's at. The only reason, this is my only reason, Cindy. Nosferatu had fantastic memes. So it was fun afterwards.
Yeah, it was fun after the fact. I wasn't thinking about the memes. Okay, so if you took out the memes, would you have put A Real Pain above Nosferatu?
That's a good question. I'm trying to subtract you must bounce on it.
Crazy style.
Ooh, crazy style. Subtracting that out. You see, they were both boring.
Yeah.
They were both.
They probably
boring.
would be tied. They'd be tied.
I think they're tied because they were both boring, but Nosferatu had more hope in the beginning. But that might make it worse, you know?
Yeah.
But
okay.
I think at least if I had to choose something to put Nosferatu over the edge, it looked pretty wild. That black, you know, like some of the scenes that I was describing, it looked beautiful. A Real Pain was just some people in Poland. So yeah, I don't know how beautiful you can make that. So yes, but whatever, we'll leave it for now.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, so that is the new ranking. Drama.
We have 22 movies now.
We have 22 movies now.
Yep.
All right. That's the end of that.
It sure is.
Au revoir.
Bye.
Bye.